Hey guys, Necroxis here, and like a lot of other WoW YouTube channels, you can probably guess if you didn't look at the video title and somehow still got to this video, we're going to be talking about a interview that just happened with Cory Stockton, and I think people are going to be surprised compared to videos I've done in the past and the reactions that other people have been having to this interview. So basically what I'm talking about is Cory Stockton, also known as Mumper on Twitter, and he is the he's like one of the head developers of World of Warcraft. He did an interview with Mammy Twink, which is an EU news and WoW stuff site. I'm not going to be talking about most of the stuff actually, probably just the big key items. But I will put the interview linked in the comment below, or in the information box below, so you can take a look and listen to yourself for the entire thing. But the important things basically are, and I'm making this video because I've been seeing other WoW YouTubers, like Heel vs. Babyface. He threw like an epic crybaby temper tantrum about this. Full disclosure, I'm not really the biggest fan of the guy, but other people that I do actually like and respect who do Warcraft videos, like Bellular Gaming, also did that. He's a great channel, by the way. You should go check that out. So anyway, everyone's talking about this interview Cory Stockton did. Let's just hit the really key points really quickly, and then I'll get into explaining each one. Hellfire Citadel 6.2 is currently the last planned raid of the expansion. So there we go. We have that confirmation, finally, that there's only going to be a 2-raid tier expansion this time around. His argument was, it was hard to wrap things up after Archimonde and present anything further that would be more threatening than him, which I'm not going to say I said that almost verbatim like a couple weeks ago, but I kind of did. Let's see. I'm looking at the Cliff Notes version of MMO Champion, which I also encourage you to check out if you don't want to watch the entire thing. He basically said that anything can happen between now and the next expansion, but Hellfire Citadel is basically the pinnacle of where they want players to be right now in Warlords. He says there isn't anything to announce about future patches, but part of that comes down to how 6.2 plays out. He said Blizzard's always checking how people are progressing in Hellfire Citadel and Tanan Jungle, and that will give the team an idea of how long that content will last. And then he went into explaining like the difference between patches and tier content, and said some expansions had 4 big patches, some had 3. And here's where a lot of people were freaking out at this next comment, and I actually think he just kind of misspoke here. He said Warlords had 2 big patches with 6.1 and 2. As the team gets closer to hitting the goal of a small time gap between expansions, there will be less large expansions. Well, I gotta repeat that sentence because I said all the wrong words. As the Warcraft team gets closer to hitting the goal of a small gap between expansions, there will be less large patches each expansion. And then, of course, he admitted, like Blizzard has said a million times, the team wasn't happy about having to wait longer than a year between Siege of Orgrimmar and Warlords of Draenor. He said long waits aren't something they ever want to do, but the team was working on the new expansion, and they weren't going to release it until it's ready. And here's another part people were ranting about. They weren't going to release it until it's ready at the right quality level. That isn't an excuse for how long it took, but it was better to wait 2 months more to have a great expansion than releasing it earlier and ending up with many ideas, or with many issues in the expansion. Finally, he said Farallon definitely is not going to be in Warlords of Draenor. It's a cool idea, but he said didn't really to the story. I'll hit on that at the end. And then an example he talked about was Tol Barad. They wanted to add it in Wrath of the Lich King, but didn't. They felt it didn't fit the story until Cataclysm, which in that case I think probably is right. So I'm sure a lot of you might be expecting me to be like, oh, this is fucking Blizzard, but guys, if you've been watching me since Warlords come out, I've been saying all of this stuff the entire time. I've been saying it in the alpha, and I said it in the beta, and I've been saying it after it's launched. It's kind of funny to me that people are like suddenly surprised at all of these things that have been going on for almost a year now. And I'm not going to say, it's kind of nice to say I told you so, but if you go back and look at all of the videos I made, and you can go do that if you're bored, on Warlords of Draenor's announcement, and when I was in the beta, and watch even a couple of my beta videos where I talk about my overall perspective, this isn't a new idea that we pretty much knew, we all but knew, that this was only going to be 2 raid tiers, this expansion. This confirmation is not really new information, it's just a confirmation of what anybody who's been paying attention should have assumed already. B, all of these complaints about people like heel versus babyface when he's throwing his fit and going like, it was $50 and I can't believe how much more it was with such little content. Fucking, where were you a year ago when the few of us who were criticizing this game were saying all of this stuff, and you and a bunch of other people, fans, YouTube websites, reviewers, professional reviewers, were all on the hype train, jerking each other off about how great Warlords was going to be. Well, the fucking roosters have come home to roost. That's not how that statement goes, but fuck it, I don't even care, because now I'm making myself angry after I just said I wouldn't get all angry. But seriously, guys, at some point you need to take some responsibility, and I'm talking now to everybody, myself included. You need to take some responsibility as a consumer to pay attention to more than one person when people are reviewing stuff before it comes out. If I do beta and alpha content, someone else does beta and alpha content, and we both get completely different perspectives on the game, maybe look a little bit further into it and see why. See why I would think something is bad, why someone else would think something is good. Get a third opinion, guys. Come on. Be a fucking good consumer. Don't just drop $50 to Blizzard 6 months in advance, not knowing anything about the game other than the hype train jerkfest Blizzard themselves was making at BlizzCon when they announced it. One of the few good things I hope comes out of this expansion is people need to learn not to pre-order games so far in advance, or even at all. I didn't buy Warlords of Draenor until the night that it came out, guys. Because I didn't like the direction the game was going, but I wanted to play the game still with my friends. And that's why I bought it. But you know what? When I see all of these people acting like they didn't see this coming, and they spent too much money, and this and that, especially bigger YouTubers, like people like Bellular Gaming, and Heel vs. Babyface, and other people who I can't remember off the top of my head because I was just watching those two. Everyone's acting like this is such a shock to them all of a sudden. Such a big surprise that this expansion cost so much and we were only going to get this much. Where the fuck were you for the last year? I know both of you were in the alpha and the beta. A lot of other people who are bitching about this were too. Were you not paying attention? Were you so blinded by nostalgia that you couldn't see how less content we were getting, how much more it was going to cost us, and how big the time sinks were? All of this stuff I've been saying for a long time, and I'm not the only one. And you know what? I get a little pissed off when people act like this is new information that we should freak out about, when the few of us who were saying this for a long time got called haters. We were told we had just played the game for too long and we should just stop playing because we hate the game. No, that's bullshit. We love the game and we're criticizing it because it was bad. So you know what? To get off this tangent, people need to... Ooh, I'm hitting my mic. People need to stop pretending like this is some sudden new shock, guys. Like, there was no indication the story was going to go past 6.2. Ian Hazzikostas made some, like, mealy-mouthed, incredibly vague comment about maybe there'll be stuff in the future. But when you beat Archimonde and Gul'dan escapes and Archimonde dies, that's more final. That has more finality to an expansion than any other expansion I've ever seen. Even Wrath of the Lich King. I think this was more final than that expansion, with Bolvar putting on the helmet and becoming the new Lich King. People, you must not be paying attention if you are suddenly shocked by all this information. I'm not defending Blizzard at all, by the way, here. I'm just saying this isn't new. So let's hit on the two big things people were freaking out about, where Cory Stockton said 6.1 was a big patch. In this specific case, I will defend him and say I think he misspoke because he kind of said that off the cuff. I think what he meant was that they are now planning to have two patches in expansions. And he just pointed out 6.1 and 6.2 because that is what this new model that I think they're trying to follow has done. Because Blizzard has already said in the past, not only with Ian Hazzikostas, but other people, that 6.1 should not have been called 6.1. It should have been called 6.0.x. So in this case, I think he just misspoke. I think it's kind of stupid to be freaking out about this one specific point. So yeah, that's really much all my feels on that. And you know what? If they're going to release the expansion and only have, like, if they're only going to have, like, the initial launch with the raids, have a story patch in 6.1, X.1, just like 5.1 had no raid content, but had a lot of story content, and it is my favorite patch still to date that they've ever done in this game. But, non-raid patch, that is. If they're only going to have, like, an X.1 be a story patch, and then an X.2 being a raid, the last raid, and then going on, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. You know what? I don't have a big problem with it. Like, everyone's suddenly, like, freaking out that, oh, there's not going to be another raid patch and we didn't get our money's worth. Guys, do you want another year of this terrible expansion just to get a raid that most of you won't even do, but people will get through it through normal and never play again? I would rather be done and move on to the next expansion. And I'll continue that thought after this next point. But the other point people were freaking out about is he said they weren't going to release Warlords until it was ready because it might have too many issues. And yes, he's flat out wrong here. He's completely 100% wrong. Warlords did launch with a lot of content that was either broken or obviously removed in like mid-development and not even carefully cleaned up. Like Gul'dan is so obviously half done still. Like it's so sloppily like cut in half. And let me just say, guys, once again, in the alpha, it was still alpha at this point when I did Gul'dan, I said that. And I revisited it in the beta when it became a beta and was further along, and it didn't change. And I said, Gul'dan looks obviously like it's not finished. So you know what? I just can't get behind people who are just like losing their shit like this is new information. But so yeah, Cory Stockton was completely wrong here. The expansion launched with like a ton of problems still, and there's no other explanation. There had to have been some big event that happened behind the scenes. I don't know if it's a ghost crawler leaving. I really don't think so, because I think a lot of the expansion, I actually don't know. I don't know what it could have been. Maybe it was ghost crawler leaving. Maybe it was something else that we didn't even know about. There has to be some explanation between how Warlords took so long with such little content. And I don't think anyone actually believes when he says they were just waiting another 2 months to make it better. I think they were waiting another 2 months to make it tolerable, and they barely got there. So yeah, that's basically my thoughts on the entire thing. As you notice, I was more angry at people reacting to it than the actual news, because I've known this information, I've been paying attention, I haven't been jerking off on the hype train nostalgia boat for the last year, and I've finally awoken out of my dream and realized how terrible it was. The last thing I'll say is one of the responses that I got when I was discussing this, both on Twitter and MMO Champion and somewhere else, when I said, I'm glad the expansion's over so we can move on, one of the responses, actually I got it a couple times, was, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to pay them another $50 for the next expansion when this one has been so short and didn't give us so much information or so much content? And I have to say, look guys, I never said that I would do that. I wouldn't do that. I can get into the alpha, like, pretty much for all of the new expansions. I have a contact at Blizzard that lets me get in. So, I have the opportunity, for not only myself, but for all of you who watch me, to show you all of this new upcoming content, and let you decide for yourself, like I decided for myself, if it's worth buying. I'm not going to drop $50 at BlizzCon this year when they announce the new expansion. And I bet you when they do, pre-orders will be available immediately. And there will still be a ton of people who go and pre-order it because they're fools. They're fools who are taking Blizzard at their word at BlizzCon, which we have now completely and definitively proven with Warlords that you cannot do anymore. You might have been able to do it in the past. That was one of my biggest complaints with this expansion when it launched, between what they promised at BlizzCon, that there was a lot of things they talked about having that they removed. And when I brought this up, people defended Blizzard again, saying, oh, you can't take them at their word, blah, 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 blah. Now these same people are bitching about the same topic. So what I do is I play the alpha, and I play the beta, and I play through it. I try to cover as much content as I can. I played the entire questing experience on my channel for you guys. For you guys, not myself, because there were times, I believe, I even say this in a couple of the videos, where I just got stuck on my character and I had to re-level again. I had done the entire Warlords of Draenor experience at least 3 times before the game even came out. So, I didn't do that for myself, because at the 3rd time, I was like sleeping through it, because I've already seen it. I did it for every one of you. So you can look through it, and you can see yourself. Is this worth my money? Because I'm trying to help you guys be a better consumer when I do stuff like that. Of course, I'm not going to deny showing off content that a lot of people can't have access to gets you views on YouTube, but everyone does it. So that's like not even, if you're going to point that out, then Yes, but like literally every single person who ever gets early access does that. That's like the point. But I show you all this stuff, and I give you my thoughts. Even if you don't want to watch all the videos, which is fine, and I don't expect you to have to watch like 60 videos to get your opinion on a game, whether or not you should buy it. There have been plenty of times where I and other people who have gotten early into Warlords gave our general thoughts and said, this is what I think is good, this is what I think is bad, this doesn't seem to be complete. There's an awful lot of time gates, guys. The end game doesn't seem to have a lot of stuff to do. And I'll keep bringing this up because I'm still pissed off about it, and I find it hilariously ironic now. The few of us who were saying those things were called haters. So, that's really all my thoughts on this issue. You know, guys, I hope you learned your lesson this time. Stop pre-ordering stuff. Not just Blizzard games, but everything. Stop pre-ordering games 6 months in advance when the game's not even half finished yet, and being disappointed when it comes out and you feel like you didn't get your money's worth. If you're even that dedicated to how much you want to get your money's worth, don't get it at launch. Wait like a week for more reviews to come in. But at the very least, those of us who get in early and are showing you all of the stuff, like I said, I showed all the leveling content, I showed off a bunch of the dungeons, I showed off Ashran, I showed off almost every single thing in the game. I purposely didn't show off the legendary quest chain because I didn't want to ruin it for myself. But literally everything else I showed. So when I get people who say to me, and in this conversation, I didn't have enough information to realize this expansion was going to be like this, I have to be like, dude, fuck you. You weren't looking for it. You either were on the hype train and so engrossed in nostalgia that you couldn't be bothered to see people criticizing it, or you like literally were not looking at all. Because there were a lot of people out there, not just myself, who were reviewing all of this stuff during the testing phase. And the few of us who were not on the hype train, were telling you exactly how it was. So, maybe next time, A, don't pre-order stuff 6 months in advance. Don't pre-order it right after Blizzard announces it. B, watch the people who are criticizing it and try to determine if they're just mindlessly bitching or if they're actually making good points. And C, even if you disagree with them, don't say that they're just hating the game to hate it, because that's ridiculous. Most of us who bother to get contacts at Blizzard and play through things 2, 3, 4 times at our own boredom and detriment, we do it because we want you guys to see who can't get into that content how this actually is, and if it's good enough, and if it's worth your money. So, that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's my rant about people complaining about this interview and this interview itself. Let me know about all of your thoughts about my opinions on this and the interview itself in the comments below. But until next time, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys later. Farewell.